Welcome into the opening line report for week 4 of the NFL season. It is Monday, September 28th. We're going over where these lines are moving for the week 4 card. He's Teddy Covers. I am Drew Martin on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. Teddy, welcome in. Happy Monday morning to you.
Hey, good Monday to you at Drew Martin Bets on Twitter. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Teddy, and I'm really excited for this show, man. NFL's off to the start here. We got change in the marketplace, coming off of the 2020 offseason. And, I think there's a real advantage out there for sports bettors to get ahead of the market movements. We've been able to kind of have some success so far this season. You've had success for over 5 years running now in the NFL. I mean, 57%. Since week 1 in 2015. So one of the best in the marketplace in terms of the NFL betting markets. But we do have a game tonight, the Monday nighter, before we get to the normal NFL opening line report here, Teddy. Did you want to get out a quick few words on what a lot of people consider the number 1 and the number 2 teams in the NFL?
Well, if you don't have them as the number 1 and the number 2 teams in the NFL, your power ratings are wrong. I've got them now, I think 5 points. The weaker of the two, 5 points better than the number 3 teams after the Saints have, looked bad and the Bills have had their issues, et cetera, et cetera. So the teams beneath Baltimore and Kansas City, they haven't been rising. They've been falling in my power rating numbers. I'm in action on the game. You can get the play. What's a $9 Mondays? You can get it for $9 at sportsmemo.com. But again, I never encourage anyone to buy plays. If you're trying to win betting on sports, buying individual plays, it's difficult to do. If you're serious about getting involved with the package, you can do that for myself, for Drew, or for any other great cappers over at sportsmemo.com. That would be the way I would encourage bettors to get involved if you want to get involved in Monday Night Tonight.
Well said, Teddy Covers. It is $9 Monday at both WagerTalk and sportsmemo.com. And also keep in mind, if you're watching this on replay, it is $2 Tuesday each and every Tuesday at both websites as well. So everybody, welcome in on the chat box. We got Terry in the house, Jason, Tom, Glenn, Terrence, all you guys, Johnny Outlaw, Mike Campbell, as always, Logan Evans. Welcome in, guys. Love to see you here. Feel free to throw out in the chat box what you're looking to bet and why. We'll get it out here on the show. Teddy, starting up the NFL opening line report for week 4 here. Got the odds up. Talking Thursday nighter here, 101, 102, 8:20 Eastern kick here, 5:20 Pacific on NFL Network, of course, the Thursday nighters. We got a 40 being the total, low total here, Teddy, in the Meadowlands. -3, that's the Denver Broncos laying on the road against the New York Jets, the 0-3 straight up and 0-3 ATS, unfortunately, for Jets fans, New York Jets, Teddy.
Yeah, and of course, the turf monsters at MetLife have been on full display over the last couple of weeks. The 49ers lost another couple of guys in yesterday's ball game. There was a tweet last week, and I apologize. I was looking for it before he came on the show, and I was scrolling down. I couldn't find it. And someone asked me to be a little bit more specific about exactly what we're doing with every game. So let me explain exactly what we're doing. What I'm going to do first, I'm going to give the look-ahead line. And this week I used the Westgate just because I've been using the Westgate for years. So I'm going to give the look-ahead line. This was a bettable line on this game from last week before the week 3 games were played. And then I'm going to give my power rating number. And I adjust my power rating numbers manually. I'm not a guy who adjusts purely on statistics. Most of the NFL marketplace is statistic-based. So I've always found my edges by manually adjusting my numbers. So I'm going to give the look-ahead line, my power rating number. We're going to give the opening number for the games that opened when they opened last night, and then talk about where it's moved initially. The goal of the show is not to predict who's going to win every NFL game this weekend. The goal of the show is to talk about what games you want to get down on right now on Monday morning to get the best of the number and what games we expect to move throughout the course of the week. Now, in talking about these games, I'm certainly going to give plenty of handicapping and plenty of opinions about teams. But the number one priority for the show is when to bet, not what to bet. So let's start with the Broncos and the Jets. The look-ahead line here was Denver -2.5. My power rating number is only Denver -3. The markets opened -2.5, -120 last night. They've already moved to 3 this morning. The total sitting flat at 40. Let's start with this. Nobody is betting the Jets. Okay. The books didn't, literally, when you were in some of the conversations and tweets that I was following yesterday, it was very clear that literally the books couldn't find a soul. The wise guys weren't. There's value on the Jets. Nobody is betting the Jets right now. So if you do like Denver, that's a sooner rather than later type of thing. The 2.5s are mostly bought up. There's still a couple out. There's one at DraftKings right now that I see on my Sports Memo live odds screen. There were plenty more. I don't think they're going to be there much longer. So, the markets have crashed on the Jets. My powering numbers have crashed on the Jets. The Jets have been non-competitive, largely. And, of course, the quotes, Adam Gase. It's frustrating. I'm frustrated for our guys, our coaches. We're the only ones that can fix it. We have to do it. We have to figure out a way to clean up all the things that aren't going right for us. Worth noting, the Jets playing without starting receivers. Perryman wasn't in there yesterday. Crowder wasn't in there yesterday. The right tackle, George Fant, was inactive yesterday. The left tackle, Becton, got hurt in the first half. He didn't come back. Multiple linebackers got hurt. The safety, McDougall, got hurt. Everyone's going to point, Adam Gase, look what you did. You're a clown. There's no healthy bodies for the Jets. Denver's equally bad. Worth noting, I don't even know if Driscoll's going to go for the Broncos here. They could be down to Blake Bortles, who they just signed. Brett Ripien was in the game yesterday, the kid out of Boise.
Oh, yeah.
He actually looked okay, for whatever. You can't tell in the fourth quarter of a crap game that the quarterback's any good. Ripien's not a good NFL starter. And the line won't hold. If Ripien starts, the line won't hold at Denver -3. But no one's betting the Jets. This isn't going to be a heavily bet game, I can tell you that. And of course, with all the overs yesterday, this total sitting at 40 does stand out like a sore thumb. That said, I see no indications in the early betting marketplace that there's anything pushing this total up.
Teddy, Brett Ripien from Boise State making an appearance in the NFL. How about that?
Yeah. Interesting quote. Last quote. I pull out all these quotes on Sunday night, and then sometimes I don't get to them in my analysis. But the last quote is a wide receiver, Tim Patrick, for the Broncos. And this quote stood out to me. We're way too talented to be 0-3. We're way too talented to be losing these games. Thank God we've got this quick turnaround so we can get this nasty taste out of our mouths. That's the only quote from either team that I found that had any positivity to it. Denver's got, the Broncos season is died pretty early. The injuries, the 49ers have more overall talent. No team has suffered more devastating injuries. Well, maybe Philadelphia than the Broncos in terms of losing their starting quarterback and their top receiver and their top defender and all of that. They've been, and all this has come relatively recently.
And we'll get to Philadelphia here. It did get some questions from them. And we got the Sunday slate coming up here, Teddy. 1 o'clock Eastern kicks here, 10 a.m. Pacific. So like each and every week, loaded up at the 1 o'clock Eastern slate. We got Tom here from France, Paul from England, Jose from Mexico City. Cool places all around the world watching the show right now, Teddy. And let us know out there, guys, in the chat box on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. If you're watching from some obscure place, always love to hear that. But Teddy, we got the Sunday slate going now, 251, 252, the rotation numbers at the top of the card. If you're following along at home, either using the WagerTalk, Sports Memo, odd screen, it all works. 251, 252 here. Indianapolis at the Chicago Bears, 45 being the total, with the Colts -2.5 on the road right now, Teddy.
Sure. So the look ahead line here was pick'em. My powering number is pick'em. Indy's already at 2.5, and I'm putting a 2.5/3. Mm-hmm. There are threes out there. We call it 2.75 right now for the Colts. Obviously, we know what the Bears did yesterday, making the move from Trubisky to Nick Foles. I made a 0-point power rating adjustment for that move. I'm assuming we're going to see Foles this week. I'm not convinced. I haven't heard anything definitive on that yet here on Monday morning. But there's no difference in terms of how the power rating number is going to be, regardless of which QB is on the field for Chicago. The question is, how do we properly price Indy right now? And again, this is a team that has a lot, even with Phillip Rivers as a new quarterback, A lot of continuity. The same offensive line has started the last 19 games for the Colts. That's the longest streak in the NFL. But what's impacting Indy and why this line went from pick'em as a look ahead to 2.5/3 this morning is because the Colts have some defensive numbers. Now, they came into yesterday's game with the top-ranked and top-rated defense in the NFL. And yesterday, they had 3 interceptions. They gave up just 260 yards and 7 points. So they remain the top defense in the NFL. They played Jacksonville week 1. They played Minnesota on a bad game for the Vikings week 2. And they played the Jets week 3.
So some misleading numbers.
If you think that Indy really has the number 1 defense in the NFL, you should be laying the 2 and find a 2.5 and lay it right here. If you don't think that the Colts have the best defense in the NFL, but that their defenses may be a little bit overrated right now, and put me in that category, Rock Ya-Sin not likely to be back this week either, a key piece of their secondary, then it feels like the markets, again, the NFL markets are going to move on stats, and the Colts defensive stats are eye-popping. I don't think their defense is that good, and I think Indy right here is something of an overvalued commodity, but the markets don't. Hence the 2.5/3 for the Colts right now.
Teddy, we got next game up here, 253, 254, also 1 o'clock Eastern kick. New Orleans at Detroit. We're seeing the Saints -4 road favorites, 54.5 being the total in Detroit.
And it's worth noting. I mean, look at these totals. I forgot to talk about the Colts Bears total because, again, the line moved 2.5/3 from pick'em as a look ahead. The total opened 44, already bet up to 45. I mean, what we saw yesterday in terms of scoring, what we've seen the first 3 weeks of the NFL season in terms of scoring, these totals are as high as anyone's ever seen them, and they're still getting bet up. And I'm still not convinced that I heard someone tell me, oh, there's value on unders right now. No, there isn't. If you bet the best numbers out there for every under yesterday, you got crushed. And the same thing happened week 2. The markets are adjusting and will continue to adjust. But honestly, until I see a week where we get 11 unders, 3 overs, one of those kind of weeks, I'm not excited about playing under. Any under I play is going to have a damn good reason attached to it. So we've seen over money for Indy, Philly, and of course Indy, Chicago. And did you ask me about the Saints, Lions yet? You asked me that, right?
Yep. Let's go.
Sorry. Look ahead line here. I got caught up in talking totals. Look ahead line was New Orleans 4. My powering number is New Orleans 3. Bettable line last night was Saints -5.5. This morning it's down to 4. Total opens 54.5. Look, it's the Lions. There was positives from yesterday's game. Their defense, they were playing zone instead of man, and they confused Murray. It worked well in their favor. They forced a talented quarterback into a bunch of mistakes. And they responded to adversity, which is something that we haven't seen a lot of from Detroit in recent seasons. They had the game-winning touchdown called back on a holding penalty, a big play TD. So what did Stafford do? He just marched him down the field and kicked the game-winning field goal instead. It was an impressive final drive. There is a fair bit of support for Detroit in the markets. And the Saints, I don't know if we're going to see the markets crash on the Saints, but they're certainly off the back-to-back losses, with Breeze showing everyone on national TV last night that even if he had Michael Thomas, he can't get him the ball. Saints defense have been gashed back-to-back weeks. I would not be surprised at all if we see wise guy Lions money this week driving this number down. If you like Detroit, find a 4 now and put it in your pocket.
All right, Teddy covers. We got the third in a row here, 1 o'clock Eastern slate. We got 10 kicks at this time slot. Arizona at Carolina up next, Teddy. We're seeing 3.5, now 4s out there. Arizona laying on the road, 52 the total here.
Yeah, and the look-ahead line was 3.5. Again, these are from the Westgate Superbook. And I used a specific book instead of the consensus numbers last week. That's just the way I've done it for 20 years. But that was the opener, was 3.5. My powering numbers, Arizona 4. The markets today, 3.5, 4 in that same range. Total's already been bet up, 51 to 52. And the markets certainly are looking at both of these teams as over teams. Kyler Murray had a very rough day yesterday. Really did. Everyone was jumping his routes. All that said, he was still electric. You got to take some of the bad with the good. And they didn't punt till the fourth quarter of that game. Cliff Kingsbury after the game, quote, "We didn't play particularly well. I think you can see that. It starts with me not getting them ready to play. I didn't call a very good game. We turned the ball over 3 times. They didn't turn it over any. 12 men on the field, things of that nature. That is what will get you beat, and that is what happened today." It's certainly an Arizona spot. I do not look at the Cardinals as a team that is going to have a lot of bad games like that. But I'll tell you what, the Panthers snapped a 10-game skid yesterday. They survived the Chargers' final drive. A good pitch, and that would have been a game-winning touchdown for LA. What's really stood out to me about Carolina yesterday, Matt Rule is a defensive-minded head coach. And the Panthers' defense was awful week 1. It was awful week 2. They hadn't recorded a sack going into yesterday's game. They allowed 65 points the first 2 games. Yesterday, they sacked Justin Herbert twice. They converted 3 turnovers into points. The defense made plays throughout the course of the game. Even without McCaffrey, maybe we bump Carolina's power rating up just a little bit. All that said, the over's taking money. If you like over, bet that now. And from a side standpoint, I don't know that I look to go against Arizona this week.
Next game up, we got 257, 258, Jacksonville at Cincinnati. We're seeing Cincinnati minus 3-point home favorites here, hosting the Jags. 48 the total here, Teddy.
Yeah, this total's been bet up heavy. Look ahead line here was 3. My powering number is Cincy 2.5. The markets have opened 3. Now it's 3 minus 20. So we have seen a little bit of Bengals money. Total opened 45.5 last night. Now it's up to 48. So the over coming in. And I think some of that has to do with, Cincy's not getting any pressure with their pass rush. And they're dropping, Burrow's dropping back 40, 50 times a game to throw the football, which bodes well for over bettors. And of course, the Jaguars defense hasn't come close to getting a stop this season. All that said, but total wise, it's shark. The Jags offense. We look at these number 1 receivers when they go out. It affects everyone else behind them. The Saints without Michael Thomas, and the Jags without Shark was not good at. It didn't work. The offense didn't work against a defense that had been problematic. There's still a team that has issues on the offensive line. It's not like the Jags have any betting market support or any heavy betting market support. This number is more likely to go to 3.5 than it is to go down to 2.5. Joe Burrow's quote after the game, he got sacked 8 times yesterday. Remember last week he gave the Burrow quote, "I've never lost like this." His quote this week, off the tie, "This is a loss to me. We didn't win. That's all it is to me. If you don't win, you lose. That's the mindset." Zach Taylor after the game, "We just can't have a free run. A defensive lineman come clean every single time. That's something we've got to fix right away." The markets with the money coming on the over expect Cincinnati to fix that problem. Certainly on paper, I think the Bengals may well be a notch or 2 better than the Jaguars, but Jacksonville does have the extra time to prepare, and Cincy not a team anybody necessarily real excited about laying more than a field goal with.
Teddy, next game up, we got Cleveland at Dallas. The Cowboys 1-2 straight up, 0-3 ATS, minus 4.5 home favorites here, Teddy. 56 the total in Jerry's world.
Yeah, so here's Cleveland with a winning record for the first time since week 14 of 2014.
Wow, nice.
It's been a while. They're 2-1. In week 14, 2014, worth noting they were 7-6. And they lost their last 3, and then Mike Pettin got fired after the season, and it went downhill from there. I believe the Hugh Jackson era started soon after. Look ahead, Dallas was 4. My powering number is Dallas 3. Last night, the markets were all over the place, 4.5, 5, 5.5. And again, with 4.5, 5, 5.5, it's not I know games land on 5, but it doesn't take much money to move from 4.5 to 5.5. It's we call it the dead zone. So when between 4.5, the market's open 4.5, 5, 5.5. It's essentially a 5. You don't sweat it, and you don't call it a big move. But this morning, the markets have decided that the right line is 4.5. Sorry, 4.5 with a total of 56 in that game. You want to play under in any Dallas game right now?
No.
You want to play any NFC East team right now?
Maybe the Giants on like a buy low. I don't know. Just to kind of throw
the Giants didn't force a punt yesterday, and they didn't get in the red zone on offense. We'll talk about them in a minute. But as a division, the NFC East is 2-9-1 against the spread.
Not very good.
Well, one of the covers came in a divisional matchup, Philly-Washington, so somebody had to cover.
Okay, so that still counts.
I didn't take them out.
Okay.
The other cover, and I cashed it with the Giants. They were not the right side in Chicago. It was a coin flip game. But Cairo Santos missed a field goal that would have covered for the Bears. So the only non-division game that any NFC team has covered this year and we're 3 full weeks into the season, has come because of a missed field goal. Okay.
Not pretty.
I talked about rules, and again, it didn't work this week. I did a free play video talking about the Seahawks and how I like Dallas plus the points in Seattle, and obviously the 2-point conversion at the end had an enormous impact on the point spread outcome of that ball game. But my premise hasn't changed. You can't lay points in the NFL with bad defenses, and right now the Cowboys defense is in the horrific range. Obviously, we're talking about a total of 56. All that said, the Browns were at 2-1. The quotes coming out of Cleveland are like they won the Super Bowl. Myles Garrett, we got to start changing history and our legacies right now. Worth noting, Denzel Ward, the Browns have been dealing with injuries in their secondary all year, and that didn't change yesterday. Denzel Ward played the first half. He did not play after halftime.
Teddy, we got Minnesota at Houston. Houston, another team that's struggling right now. 0-3 straight up and ATS. They're having to lay 3.5 or 4 at home. That speaks volumes to the Minnesota Vikings right now. 53.5 being the total.
Yeah, look-ahead line was Houston -4. My powering number is Houston -4.5. The markets were at 4 and 52 last night. We've seen a little bit of Minnesota money. We've sit down to 3.5 this morning. So the Vikings have taken some money. And the total, like many of these totals, have been bet up. I appreciate the heads up on the Bears to start Foles next week. I saw you posted that, and I didn't double-check this morning. So thank you for putting that up about the game we talked about earlier. Again, no powering adjustment between Foles and Trubisky in the markets. But it is good info, and I'm glad we have viewers in the chat who are sharing. I appreciate that, guys. Thank you.
Just came out 30 minutes ago, according to the chat box.
Oh, beauty. Well, again, thank you. I appreciate you guys being. The more you can contribute, the more you can be a part of the show, the better show it is. So I really do appreciate the comments. So anyhow, the Texans played a great first half, and then they got 51 yards in the second half. 2 first downs after halftime yesterday. The defense wore down. The offense couldn't do anything. Let's not forget the Texans did open 0-3 in 2018, and they ended up rallying to win the division. And when you played KC and Baltimore and Pittsburgh over the first 3 weeks, every game after is a step down in class. Deshaun Watson, quote, "We got 13 more games, so it's a lot of opportunities out there. We got to keep building and keep pushing forward." That's what you want to hear. The Vikings fought tooth and nail yesterday. Didn't matter. That defense is awful for Minnesota. The offense, Jefferson was insane in that game. You see what Jefferson did? Justin Jefferson finished 165 with a tutty. But, he made a bunch of plays. Dalvin Cook got wild in space, got into space. The defense forced some turnovers. They forced field goal attempts. And they still lost the game. Incredibly demoralizing for Minnesota. The injuries for the Vikings, they're not going anywhere. Danielle Hunter, Anthony Barr on IR. They lost a couple of cornerbacks this last week. 4 starters off the defense hurt for Minnesota. I can understand why Houston is more than a field goal here, and you're not going to catch my money betting Minnesota this week.
He's Teddy covers 46 and 29, 61% all sports since August 6th. He's also hot right now in the NBA, guys. 70%, 30 and 13 run, and up over 60% in college football the first 4 weeks. Check him out, Sports Memo or WagerTalk.com. It is $9 Monday at both websites. You can get his top play for Monday Night Football right now, discounted to just $9 each and every Monday, guys. Sports Memo, WagerTalk.com. It is $9 Monday. All plays discounted to just $9. Next game up here, Teddy, 263-264 Seattle, making the long trip down to South Florida, taking on the Dolphins in Hard Rock, and laying near a touchdown here, seeing -6.5. There is -7 out there, 54.5 being the total.
Look ahead line, Seahawks 6.5. My powering number, Seahawks 5.5. I'm almost tempted to doodle you this game.
Do we got it?
Doodle you. Appreciate the mention, Birdie. Thank you. If you like Seattle, I would bet that to 6.5 now. There's a decent chance that this goes to 7. I'm not convinced that it's going to go to 7. And the biggest doodly-oop is coming up, and it's already, but if you like the Seahawks, again, it's one of those deals where the line's not going to go down. All right. It's not going to hurt you to lock in at 6.5. And there's a decent chance we see 7s across the board. By kickoff, the Seahawks have Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's been amazing. That said, Seattle has absolutely no one healthy in their secondary. Jamal Adams, the latest to go down. They lost both their starting guards in the first half yesterday. They had a rookie linebacker making his first start in Jordan Brooks. He got hurt in that ball game. It's a defense that's riddled with injuries. As for Miami, coming off extra time to prepare, coming off a Thursday night win against the Jags. Team chemistry, do we talk about it? Do we think about it? Maybe we should. Mike Gesicki, quote, Fitz is out of his mind. He's 37 and playing like he's 23. You see the fun he has. After I scored, we came off the field chest bumping and screaming. It's so much fun to play with him. Miami's got positive team chemistry right now. It's very clear when you watch him on the field. And total 54.5. My notes, again, I take notes as I'm watching the games. And my notes for Seahawks, I highlighted this one to talk about on the show. Quote, injuries all over this secondary. This is as over a team as you'll ever find. No surprise if we see over money in Seahawks, Dolphins. Modest doodly-oop towards Seattle, modest doodly-oop towards the over.
Okay, so we got the modest doodly-oop here, and I'm liking that over too, Teddy. Also, we had a question here, this one being in Hard Rock, from the chat box. Are you adding anything to the home teams that have fans at the stadium? Of course, this one, we just saw Miami, Florida State, a lot of fans there, Miami Dolphins home games, Jags home games, anything to that?
So what I've been doing is I've been literally adjusting team by team for what I consider to be the home field. My standard home field is either a point or a point and a half. There's a couple teams I've given 2. I haven't given anyone more than 2, and I haven't given anyone less than 0.
Okay.
The Jets have a 0. The Giants have a 0. There are plenty of zeros out there this year. I'm trying to do it on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. We got the LA Chargers and the Tampa Bay Bucks up next. This one also in Florida over there, Raymond James. -7.5. That's the Bucks laying at home. 45 being the total, Teddy.
Significant adjustment here. Look ahead line. Chargers or Bucks 4.5. My powering number, Bucks 6. The markets opened 7 last night, and now they're up to 7 and basically, 7.5 last night. It was 7.25 last night. Today it's really 7.5. Total hasn't moved yet. Tom Brady threw for 297 yards and 3 touchdowns yesterday. Quote, there's still a lot to learn, a lot to grow, a lot of room for improvement. I know everybody feels that way. By no means was this really close to what we are capable of. And again, after halftime, the offense got a field goal for Tampa. They got one of their touchdowns because the special teams blocked the punt. Brady consistently throwing checkdowns on third downs. No shots. And, of course, they had the lead. He didn't need to take shots. But Tampa's a long way from being a finished commodity. The Chargers yesterday went with Herbert again. We talked about how the rookie QB that they weren't expecting is going to have a better game than the rookie QB after they film on him. That said, there's a lot to like about Herbert, man. He's chucking the football around, and it's a team that isn't short on weapons. But on the injury front, key injuries again for LA yesterday. Chris Harris got hurt in that game, didn't return. Brian Bulaga on the offensive line got injured in the second half, didn't return. Mike Williams, a wide receiver, got injured in the second half and didn't return. That, along with the West Coast team traveling east for the early start game, off the back-to-back devastating losses, that could be what's driving this Tampa money. Certainly there's been a fair bit so far this morning.
All right, Teddy, we got Pittsburgh at Tennessee up next. Tennessee, kind of an interesting case study here, being 3-0 straight up and 0-3 ATS. You don't normally see that. But either way, Teddy, we got the Steelers -1 in the hook on the road, 47 being the total in this one.
Yeah, I made Ralph Michaels look it up in his database. If there was ever an 0-3 straight up, 3-0 straight up 0-3 ATS teams, he went back, I forget how many years, but he didn't find one.
Yeah.
The last time a team won 3 games in a row without covering any of them was like, I forget, it was 2012, the 2012 Ravens or something like that in weeks 4, 5, and 6. It doesn't happen very often, what we've seen from Tennessee. Look ahead line here was Titans -3 even money. My powering number, Titans -1. Last night, Titans -1, 1.5, total 47. This morning, Steelers -1, -1.5. And this line could go to 3. Let's get the doodly-oop going. This is your emergency betting alert. If you like Pittsburgh, find a -1 right now. You've already missed the very best of it, but this line's only going in one direction.
Doodly-oop.
Tennessee.
Doodly-oop.
Doodly-oop, doodly-oop, doodly-oop.
There we go.
You know, it's a Wayne's World thing. That's, God. All my references are dated. It sucks getting old. The markets don't like Tennessee. 3-0 straight up, 0-3 ATS. And who have they beaten? They've beaten Broncos team that nobody's excited about. They couldn't cover there. Injury-riddled Broncos team that nobody's excited about. They beat a Jaguars team that nobody's excited about, struggled to get out of that game with a win. And they beat a Vikings team that nobody's excited about and is struggling on the defensive side of the football. The markets, not crashing on Tennessee, but from a defensive standpoint, there's no love for the Titans right now whatsoever. Taylor Lewin got hurt yesterday. That's a huge injury for the Titans, the left tackle. That was impactful. And it's worth noting, Tennessee, the number 1 red zone offense in the NFL last year, bar none. Coming into yesterday's game, they were 51% on third down conversions as well. And yesterday, they couldn't convert third down. They couldn't convert in the red zone. They settled for 6 field goals, and they still won the game. Ryan Tannehill rallied from behind multiple times to win that game. Ryan Tannehill, we just kept chipping away, believing in each other. His streak of 9 straight games with 2 or more touchdown passes and 1 or fewer interceptions ended yesterday. But Titans 12-4 behind Tannehill, including the playoffs, and 15-0 when Henry runs for more than 100 yards. Henry's not running for more than 100 yards against the Steelers, one wouldn't think. Houston just 51 yards and 2 first downs after halftime yesterday. And Houston came out and punched Pittsburgh right in the face in the first half of that game. Mike Tomlin, we didn't blink, man. And they did. They rallied back in that contest. Again, I got Pittsburgh as a top 5 team right now, and the markets are starting to get there as well. Nothing but Pittsburgh money so far. I would expect to see more Pittsburgh money between now and kickoff. Tennessee with no betting bandwagon whatsoever. The Steelers are starting to get one. If you like Pittsburgh, I bet them sooner rather than later.
To round out the 1 o'clock Eastern kicks here, we got Baltimore at Washington. Of course, a limited marketplace here, guys, with the Ravens playing tonight. And we've gone over it in past shows. If you like the Ravens tonight, might want to correlate that with next week's bet as well. They are laying 13 here on the highway at Washington, the Washington football team, that is, Teddy. So we got Baltimore at Washington, see about -13 across the marketplace right now.
Yeah, look ahead line was 12. My powering number is 13. The markets last night were 13, 13.5, 14. And this is one instance where I don't agree. This is not a spot where if you like the Ravens, you want to make 2 bets on the Ravens instead of 1.
Okay.
Here's why. The markets are going to look at Baltimore next week and say this team's going to be flat as a pancake. They're coming off a huge win over Kansas City. and they're laying 2 touchdowns against their regional rival.
Short week on the road. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, the markets will. There will be wise guy money on the Washington football team if Baltimore kills them. Now, Kansas City, there may be reason to bet this week and next week at the same time. Baltimore, this is not one of those instances where I would say definitely there's a correlation between the two. And again, the Washington football team went into the fourth quarter with a lead at Cleveland yesterday and then melted down pretty hard in the fourth quarter. They're going to do that. That's what the Skins are. They are very the youngest offense in the NFL, I believe. And the quote I read last week where Haskins was saying, everybody's under 25. I think they're going to be a road home dichotomy team. Their only home game this year, they rallied from 17 down and blew out Philly.
Yeah.
I think they'll be better at home. But again, we know they get 13 and a half right now. There is a 14 out there, but I don't see tonight's game having a huge impact on where this point spread comes out. If the Ravens lose, they'll still be close to 2 touchdowns favored. And if they win, they'll be in the same range.
Okay, good stuff, Teddy. We got the 4 Eastern kicks here up next. We got 3 of them, then the Sunday Nighter and the Monday Nighter for next week. So we'll quick hit these. We got the New York Football Giants at the LA Rams. We're seeing Rams near 2 touchdowns again here, Teddy. -13 at home, 47 being the total.
Yeah, and last thing about the Skins, I forgot to mention it, but it's an impact because it totally impacted the game. Chase Young, the number 2 overall pick, got hurt yesterday. Yeah. And Matt Ioannidis got hurt as well, and all of a sudden the defensive line wasn't dominating anymore. So that could be something to be impact injuries that we want to be aware of.
2 injuries on the D-line?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Let's see. The Giants and the Rams look-ahead line was LA -9. My powering number, LA -10.5. The markets opened -11.5, -12 last night, and they moved to -13 this morning. Clearly, there's a little bit of a crash on the Giants. And remember, the Giants were as popular a team in the betting markets as there was in the NFL yesterday. Wise guys like them, public like them. Look, San Fran doesn't have anybody healthy. And the Giants, it doesn't get a lot uglier than what the Giants did yesterday. Again, when you don't get in the red zone on offense and don't force a punt on defense, that's as bad as it gets. And underbettors will tell you how bad the Giants' defense was yesterday. Again, they didn't get in the red zone on offense, and the game went over the total. How does that happen? It happens because your defense is every bit as bad. The market's crashing on the G-men right now. Now, that's as bad as the Giants. Maybe they could play worse. But that it could be a buy low. You talked about who we want in the NFC East, and it could be a buy low opportunity here on the G-men. I just don't think they're all that good. And the Rams, off that insanity against the Bills yesterday, and that was as crazy a game as you'll ever see. You worry about laying this type of price, but the fact that they lost the game may give them an edge. And all LA has to do is hand the ball off, and the Giants are going to have problems. Boy, that's a well-designed run game for the Rams this year. Goff's been pretty good. Anyhow, the markets, it's gone from the look-ahead is 9, and the markets are at 13 now. I don't know if it gets to 14, but the Giants are like the Jets. They're not a team that the markets, they're seeing a whole lot of money. The Jets have gotten no money. The Giants took a ton of money last week, but everyone that bet the Giants thought like they're running back to the window to bet the Giants again. Giants and Jets likely to bet, maybe the Jaguars. Those will be the 3 teams that get the least money this week in the NFL.
All right, guys, this is the NFL opening line report here each and every Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific time on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. If you're liking the content, please give us the thumbs up, the like sign. And if you're watching on replay, feel free to throw a comment out there below the video. Always love to hear from the audience. Next game up here, a big one, Teddy. 273-274 New England Patriots at the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs laying 6.5 or 7 in Arrowhead. Limited marketplace with the Chiefs playing tonight, but we are seeing a couple 53.5s out there for a total.
Yeah, and it's definitely worth noting. Look headline here, 8 for Kansas City. My powering number, 8.5 for Kansas City. But I put my powering numbers for the Chiefs and the Ravens. I have them way ahead of everyone else. I'm not looking to make cases necessarily to bet against those teams unless one of them is playing the other and you have a unique circumstance like we have tonight. That's why I'm involved in tonight's game. But these are two teams that I'm in no rush to step in front of. The markets are 7 and even 6.5 right now. Obviously, certainly Belichick's track record as a dog comes into play. Kansas City with the Monday night game off of the divisional overtime game. It stands out as a potential flat spot, et cetera, et cetera. Then again, if the Chiefs win tonight, if the Chiefs kill them tonight, this line's not going to be going down. If you like the Pats, there are 7s out there in Vegas. The offshore is mostly 6.5 right now. If you like New England, the markets have definitely made a move, and they have an opinion on the Patriots off that big win over the Raiders yesterday, even though from a defensive standpoint, look, the Patriots game plan right now is real simple. If they can run, they can win. If they can't run, it's going to be more difficult for them. They've yet to face a good defense. We'll see what KC's defense looks like tonight. Chiefs not known for stopping the run either.
All right, Teddy, we got 4:25 Eastern, 1:25 Pacific kickup. Next, 276 Buffalo at Las Vegas Raiders. Looks like the Bills laying 3 in Allegiant Stadium, 52.5 the total in the desert, Teddy.
Yeah, look-ahead line was Buffalo 2.5. My powering number is Buffalo 2.5. The broader markets this morning are -2.5, -120. And we'll call it a 2.75 right here with the Bills over the Raiders. Total has been up through the roof this morning. 49.5 last night, 52 this morning. I'm seeing 52.5. That's worth an emergency betting alert. If you like the over, doodly-oop, 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 don't wait. Find a 51.5. You can still get down. That number's only going up. It could well be 52, 52.5, 53. Who knows how high it'll go. There's nothing keeping there's no automatic buyback on these totals right now in the NFL. So once it starts going up, it can continue to go up. Raiders injury report worth noting. Henry Ruggs couldn't play last week, the speedy rookie receiver. Right tackle, Trent Brown, his backup is out as well. The left guard, Richie Incognito. The linebacker, Kwiatkowski. They had, the rookie starting at guard and another guy that started right tackle. Damon Arnett, the rookie, went out with a thumb injury at cornerback. Already banged up, the Raiders. And, again, it's not a defense that we trust to stop the run. Of course, Bills aren't a run-first team anymore. They were Josh Allen's been. And, again, of all the games, something about 28-3 leads, Drew. I had a big ticket on the Bills yesterday. I don't remember a game making me crazier than that game. And it all turned on one play. It turned, it was 28-3, and Josh Allen chucked one up, and it looked like it was a dual catch. And instead it got ruled somehow and on replay, and it withstood the replay. And the whole momentum changed, and Josh Allen fell apart, and he fumbled, and he made interceptions, and he held the ball too long. There was the good Josh Allen and the bad Josh Allen, both on display. And we got the good Josh Allen for the final drive and a lucky penalty to get the win. But the Bills at 3-0, this is not, that was back-to-back super intense games for Buffalo. Now they're flying out west. The Raiders look pretty good against the spread in their first game at Allegiant Stadium. I don't think this is going to get to 3 and sit there. And all the post-game comments from the Raiders were, we played a crappy game. We're not a crappy team. We're not going to look at this as being who we are. I wouldn't be surprised if we see, again, I don't know. There's 3s out there right now. I don't know if the 3s are going to hold. Okay. If you like Vegas, find a 3 today. It may well be 2.5 or lower by kickoff.
All right, Teddy, we got the Sunday Nighter up next. Philadelphia, the Eagles at the San Francisco 49ers. We're seeing 49ers -6 in the hook pretty much across the board right now at home. 45 the total in this one, Teddy.
Look ahead line, San Fran -3.5. My powering number, San Fran -5. Last night it was 5.5/6. This morning it's 6/6.5. Ain't no betting, but nobody's betting Philly right now. All right, talk about the Jets. The Eagles have proven to be worse than the Washington football team and equal to the Cincinnati Bengals. Okay. That's actual game results that we've seen. All right. They lost to Washington and tied with Cincinnati at home. That's where Philly's got to be power rated right now. Okay. And everyone, Carson Wentz, oh my God, Carson Wentz, he threw 2 interceptions in each of the first 3 games. Carson Wentz sucks. If you're looking at this like it's Carson Wentz's fault, I mean, some of it is.
Yeah, sure. He's the quarterback.
But let's see. Their offensive line is absolutely in shambles. Their receiving core is absolutely in shambles. So on every pass play, Carson Wentz drops back. He's got 5 guys in his face, and his receivers are running random routes out there and nowhere near where they're supposed to be. And there's no deep threat to stretch the defense. There's no running game to keep the safeties out of the box. It's a disaster for Philly right now. They have to be power rated, as low as you want to go. I'll just put it at that on Philadelphia right now. And the markets are there. They're already crashing on them in this morning. And it's a 49ers team that may well be fat and happy. This home favorite role hasn't been their role. San Fran played very well on both games back east and spent a week away from their families in West Virginia. And their injury problems are worse than Philadelphia's, or every bit as bad as Philadelphia's. They have better depth than Philly. They scored on 7 of their first 8 possessions yesterday, and would have been 8. But the snap hold problem led to a missed Robbie Gould field goal. But the secondary, that's another area for Philly that has problems. Their secondary has cluster injuries. These are 2 riddled football teams. A total at 45. Guess what, Drew? That's been bet up off of 43 at the opener, despite the issues they have. And a lot of that, again, when you think about Shanahan and his play calling against bad defenses, yes, Wentz was holding the ball really forever because nobody was open ever. I know. I watched him. And my notes on Wentz yesterday were so funny because I'm like, I like him, but he keeps throwing bad picks, and he's holding the ball too long. He's indecisive in the pocket. He's taking tacks he shouldn't in the red zone. But there's a reason behind all of that. There really is. Yes, San Fran needs to win. If you bet every NFL team that needs to win, you won't make money.
Yeah.
It doesn't do you any good. And they certainly don't need to win by margin. It's going to be hard for the markets to get Philadelphia money. I wouldn't be surprised at all if this game goes to 7. That said, the 49ers injury report is so bad, it's hard for me to lay 7 with that team as well. As good as they looked against the Giants, at least Philly's competing. The Giants didn't compete yesterday.
Teddy, speaking of 28-3 leads here, we got 279-280 up next. The Atlanta Falcons at the Green Bay Packers. We're seeing the Packers -7 in Lambeau, 58 being the total. This is the Monday Nighter finishing up the NFL opening line report for week 4.
So look-ahead line was 5. My powering number is 9.5. I made a big adjustment on Green Bay off the win in New Orleans last night. And I made another big adjustment on Atlanta. This is the quote from Dan. Oh, so no, sorry. But last night, the game opens 5.5, 6. That was the betting number yesterday. And then, of course, given what the Packers did last night, no surprise that it's been Green Bay money. I thought it opened low. But Atlanta was there was a popular betting choice yesterday. Total, 58? That's where we're at right now in the NFL. And it's still might be short, Drew.
Yeah.
I mean, the weakness for totals is at the margins. And when you have a game, I was talking about this on a podcast last week I did for DraftKings with Ed Feng and Buddy and company. And I would say that, when the total's 55.5, the markets don't go that much higher than that. And maybe it should be 60, but the markets won't accept it. Mm-hmm. This could be one of those games. Falcons, I mean, they too have a ton of injuries right now. Julio Jones missed yesterday's game. Offensive line injuries, defensive line injuries in the secondary with Ricardo Allen and A.J. Terrell. And then they lost Russell Gage and Grady Jarrett on the field yesterday. But here's the Quinn quote, the Dan Quinn. And again, we're seeing today, on Twitter, they're saying anytime you blow a big lead, you're falconing. You know,
I like that one.
Yeah, you know, it's everyone's going to point the finger at Dan Quinn. And again, Quinn's quote, "The last 2 weeks have been nothing short of crushing." They have an extra day to prepare. The fans won't be there at Lambeau. But the Packers aren't necessarily a team that you want to face right now. First team in NFL history to lose back-to-back games in which they led by 15 or more in the final period of that game. There's not going to be a whole lot of love for Atlanta in the betting markets. You can count on it. There's not going to be a whole lot of love for the under in the betting markets. You can count on that as well. So, again, there's 7s right now with Green Bay. If you like the Packers, you know, what possible move could come in to say that people are going to be like, oh yeah, let's bet Atlanta hand over fist. I can't envision that scenario, even though, again, my powering number says 9.5 and you can find 7s right now. I have to anticipate this line can only go up.
Teddy, that does it for the NFL opening line report. Guys, check out Teddy Covers sportsmemo.com, wagertalk.com. He's been great since August 6th, 46-29. That's 61%. Also hot right now in the NBA, 30-13. And my favorite stat here, guys, 57% in the NFL since 2015. So going back, not just short term here, guys. He's been beating the marketplace for quite some time in the NFL. This is the NFL opening line report each and every Monday, wherever you're downloading your podcasts at, Sports Memo Podcast, and live streamed on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Please give us the like sign, comment below. Everybody in the chat box, huge shout out to you. A bunch of good stats here being thrown out in the chat box, and a lot of guys all over the world, Teddy. That's what's really cool here. And Sean letting us know it starts at 6 p.m. in Ireland, the opening line report, and also James saying in England, 7 p.m. So different start times depending where you're watching here, Teddy. But any last words here before we shut this one down?
Yeah, I do want to say thank you. The audience has been nothing but supportive. I'm getting the nicest tweets. I really appreciate it. Look, I've been doing an opening line report. I've been in Vegas since '98. I started doing it on Monday mornings. I think it was 2004. So it's been this is my 16th or 17th season doing it. And this is the first time in all of these years, Drew, that I'm like, we're really building an audience. People are really excited about it. People are really giving feedback. And I appreciate it. I genuinely do. Thank you for taking time out of your day to hang out with Drew and I. And, of course, we'll do it again next week right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel.
Absolutely. Follow him on Twitter at Teddy_covers, myself on Twitter at Drew Martin Bets. Guys, best of luck with your bets. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk next week, 10 a.m. Pacific time on Monday right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Best of luck, guys.